The sound of my daughter's sobbing echoed through our empty backyard, cutting deeper than any knife could. Torn streamers littered the grass like fallen confetti dreams, and what remained of her birthday cake lay face down on our patio, its pink frosting smeared across the concrete like a crime scene. My name is Rachel, and this was supposed to be Celeste's perfect 8th birthday party. Instead, I stood there watching my baby girl's special day crumble around us, knowing exactly who was responsible but feeling powerless to prove it. Mommy, why did everything go wrong? Celeste hiccuped between sobs, her princess dress now stained with dirt and tears. I pulled her close, trying to shield her from the chaos around us. I'm so sorry, sweetie. Sometimes bad things happen, but we'll make it better. The words felt hollow, especially when I caught sight of my stepmother Angelina's satisfied smirk through the kitchen window. Just hours earlier, everything had been perfect. The backyard transformed into a fairy tale garden, with twinkling lights and delicate decorations that had taken days to arrange. 20 excited 8-year-olds were due to arrive at 3 o'clock. At 2:30, Angelina had shown up uninvited with my father, Victor. "Oh, darling, we couldn't miss our precious granddaughter's birthday," she'd cooed, her designer heels sinking into our freshly mowed lawn. "Dad, I thought you were in Phoenix for work," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "Angelina insisted we fly back early. Couldn't miss our little princess's special day." He beamed, oblivious to the tension. I'd stepped inside to get drinks, leaving Angelina alone in the backyard for exactly 3 minutes. That's all it took. When I returned, the decorations were accidentally torn down, the cake had mysteriously toppled over, and Angelina was performing her best concerned grandmother act. "Oh, Rachel, darling, this terrible wind came out of nowhere. Perhaps it's a sign you should have held the party at our house, as I suggested." There hadn't been so much as a breeze all day. Now, an hour later, I sat on our porch swing with Celeste, calling parents to cancel while my father defended his wife inside. Their voices carried through the open window. "Victor, I feel just awful about everything. I tried to catch the cake, I really did." "Of course you did, dear. Rachel's always been oversensitive. She's probably just stressed being a single mother." I gripped my phone tighter, fighting back tears of frustration. That's when my best friend Wilfred's beat-up Toyota pulled into the driveway. He took one look at the disaster zone, and his usually cheerful face hardened. "Who do I need to fight?" he asked, only half joking as he joined us on the swing. "No fighting needed," I managed a weak smile. "Just help me salvage what's left of this day." Wilfred squeezed my shoulder before kneeling in front of Celeste. "Hey, kiddo, what do you say we grab some ice cream and hit the arcade? Birthday parties are overrated anyway." Celeste's tear-stained face brightened slightly. "Can we play skee-ball?" "All the skee-ball you can handle, princess." As Wilfred led Celeste to his car, I went inside to grab my purse. That's when I noticed the mail I'd forgotten to open that morning. Among the bills was a thick cream envelope with my mother's familiar handwriting. My hands trembled as I read the letter's opening lines. "My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, it means another year has passed since my death. And knowing Angelina as I do, you're probably in need of some motherly intervention. There's something I never told you about the family estate." "Rachel?" Angelina's sickeningly sweet voice interrupted my reading. "Aren't you going to thank me for trying to save the party?" I carefully folded the letter and tucked it into my pocket, my mother's words burning against my hip like a secret weapon waiting to be unleashed. "No need to thank you, Angelina. You've done more than enough for one day." I walked past her, pausing at the door. "Oh, and don't worry about any future parties. We won't be needing your help again." Her perfectly painted smile faltered for just a second, but it was enough. As I walked toward Wilfred's car, where Celeste sat chattering excitedly about arcade games, I felt the weight of my mother's letter like a promise of justice to come. Sometimes the worst days have a way of setting better things in motion. I just didn't know yet how much better things would get, or how spectacular Angelina's eventual downfall would be. The iron gates creaked open like they were welcoming an old friend. I stood at the entrance of my childhood home, my mother's letter clutched in one hand, while the other held Celeste's smaller one. The mansion loomed before us, its weathered facade telling stories of neglect. "This was your house, Mommy?" Celeste's eyes widened as she took in the sprawling grounds. It was, baby, and according to this letter, it still is. The front door opened before we reached it, revealing Zane, our family lawyer, his silver hair catching the morning light. Rachel, right on time. Though I must say, your mother's timing was always impeccable. Inside, dust motes danced in the sunbeams streaming through grimy windows. The grand staircase still curved elegantly upward, though its wooden banister had lost its shine. Memories flooded back, running down these stairs on Christmas mornings, my mother's laughter echoing through the halls. Your mother left very specific instructions, Zane said, leading us to the library. The estate was to remain in trust until either your 35th birthday, or, and I quote, until my daughter needs it most. He spread documents across the massive oak desk. She added a codicil just before she passed. The property couldn't be sold or transferred to anyone else, specifically not to your father or any future wife of his. I let out a laugh that was half sob. She knew. Somehow she knew Angelina would try to take everything. Your mother was very perceptive. Zane smiled, sliding a key across the desk. The estate is yours, Rachel. Free and clear. Celeste had wandered to the windows, pressing her nose against the glass. Look, Mommy, there's a fountain out there. Can we explore? I asked Zane, suddenly feeling like a child again myself. It's your house now. Explore all you want. We spent the next hour roaming through rooms filled with sheet-covered furniture. Celeste's footsteps echoed through empty halls that once buzzed with life. In the conservatory, wild ivy had crept in through broken window panes, creating an indoor jungle. This room was my favorite, I told Celeste, brushing cobwebs from a piano. Mom used to teach music lessons here. Can we fix it up? Celeste asked, trailing her fingers through the dust on the keys. Make it pretty again? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Angelina's name flashed on the screen. I declined the call, but seconds later, a text appeared. Victor tells me you're at the old house. Don't get any ideas, dear. That place is falling apart. Best to let us handle it. Another buzz. We could sell it and split the proceeds. Be reasonable, Rachel. I showed the messages to Zane, who shook his head. She has no claim here. Your mother made sure of that. Standing in that sun-dappled room, watching Celeste spin in circles with her arms outstretched, an idea began to take shape. What if we didn't just fix it up? What if we gave it a whole new purpose? What kind of purpose? Zane asked, raising an eyebrow. Mom always wanted this place to be full of children's laughter. She used to talk about starting a music school, but never got the chance. I walked to the windows, wiping away years of grime. What if we created something she would have loved? Something that would help others while showing Angelina that she can't control everything? My phone buzzed again. This time it was Wilfred. How's the Great Estate adventure going? Need backup? I typed back quickly. Get over here. Bringing my crazy idea to life might require your contractor skills. Turning back to Celeste, I found her seated at the piano, carefully cleaning each key with her sleeve. Hey, sweetie, how would you feel about sharing this place with other kids? Maybe ones who don't have mommies of their own? Her face lit up. Like a castle for kids? Exactly like that. Zane cleared his throat. There's something else you should see. He pulled an old leather journal from his briefcase. Your mother left this too. Said you'd know when to read it. I opened it to the first page, where my mother's elegant handwriting filled the margins. My dearest Rachel, I've watched Angelina circle our family like a vulture, and I know what's coming. But remember this. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about creating something beautiful despite them. Celeste's voice interrupted my reading. Can we come back tomorrow? I want to help clean. Looking at my daughter's hopeful face, then back at my mother's words, I felt a surge of purpose. We'll do better than that, baby. We're going to bring this place back to life. As if in response, a breeze stirred through the broken window, carrying with it the sweet scent of the overgrown gardens outside. Somewhere in this beautiful mess was the perfect revenge, not just against Angelina, but against every bit of darkness she'd tried to bring into our lives. The look on Angelina's face when I slapped the renovation permits down on her marble dining table was worth every penny of the rush fee I'd paid to get them expedited. What's this? She asked, perfectly manicured nails drumming against the heavy paper. Just thought you'd want to see the plans for the estate's transformation, I said, pulling out the architect's renderings. We're calling it Grace Haven, a home for children who've lost their mothers. Her coffee cup clattered against its saucer. You can't be serious. That house is worth millions. You're going to turn it into some sort of orphanage? Not an orphanage, a community center and temporary home for children in need. Mom would have loved it. Your mother, she spat the word like poison, had more sense than this. Victor will never allow it. Dad doesn't have a say. The property's mine, free and clear. But you already knew that, didn't you? That's why you've been calling nonstop for 2 weeks. The front door opened and my father's voice boomed through the house. Angel, I'm home early. In here, darling, Angelina called out, her saccharine smile snapping back into place. Rachel's just sharing some interesting news. Dad walked in, loosening his tie. What news? Your daughter is planning to destroy your mother's legacy, Angelina said before I could speak. She wants to turn the estate into some kind of homeless shelter. It's not a homeless shelter, I corrected, spreading out the plans. Look, Dad, we're restoring the conservatory for music lessons, converting the East Wing into temporary housing, adding a playground in the back gardens. Rachel, honey, Dad started, that patronizing tone I knew too well creeping into his voice. Running something like this takes experience, money, which is why I've already secured 3 major donors and hired a professional staff. I pulled out more papers. Remember the Harriman Foundation? They're matching all donations for the first year. Angelina's face went pale. The Harrimans were her social circle's golden ticket. Their approval meant everything in her world. But what about family gatherings? She stammered. Holidays? Surely you can't mean to exclude us from the property entirely. I smiled, channeling every ounce of her own sweetly vicious energy. Oh, Angelina, I would never exclude you entirely. You're welcome to attend our public fundraising events, as a donor, of course. Dad looked between us, finally sensing the tension. Now, Rachel, your stepmother has always treated you like her own. Has she, Dad? Like when she ruined Celeste's birthday party? Or when she told her friends I was unstable after Mark died? I never, Angelina started. Save it. I have the texts you sent to your sister Summer. Screenshots last forever, remember? The color drained from her face completely. You've been going through my private messages? No need. Summer sent them to me herself. Seems she's developed quite a conscience lately. Just then, my phone buzzed with a text from Wilfred. Contractors are here. Need you to sign off on the paint colors. Well, this has been lovely. I stood, gathering my papers. But I have a construction crew waiting. Dad, you're welcome to come by anytime. Alone. Rachel, wait. Angelina grabbed my arm. Let's be reasonable. What would it take to change your mind? Money? A bigger house in a better neighborhood? I gently removed her hand. You know what the funny thing is? If you'd just been kind, to me, to Celeste, to anyone, you could have had it all. Mom left provisions for family to live on the property, but you couldn't help yourself, could you? I don't know what you're talking about, she said, but her eyes darted away. The journal Mom left? I've read it all now, including the parts about what you did before you married Dad. Does he know about the Thompson inheritance? She flinched as if I'd slapped her. That's ancient history. Is it? Because I have a meeting next week with Mrs. Thompson's grandson. Apparently he's very interested in discussing old family matters. Dad looked between us, confusion evident. Angel, what's she talking about? Nothing, darling, just Rachel being dramatic again. I headed for the door, pausing in the doorway. By the way, the first group of children moves in next month. We're having a grand opening celebration. The press will be there, lots of society photos. You should come, Angelina. I'm sure Mrs. Thompson's grandson would love to catch up. As I walked to my car, I heard the start of what would surely be a very interesting conversation between my father and his wife. Mom's journal had revealed more than just family secrets. It had given me the perfect ammunition for justice served cold. My phone buzzed again. Wilfred, you okay? I texted back, never better. Time to pick paint colors for a brighter future. Watch that chandelier, I called out as workers carefully lowered the crystal masterpiece from the grand foyer's ceiling. 2 weeks into renovations, and the estate was transforming before my eyes. Wilfred appeared beside me, hard hat in hand. Found something you need to see, he said, gesturing toward the east wing. Well, you should just come look. I followed him up the main staircase, past walls stripped to their studs and floors protected by thick construction paper. The sound of power tools and workers' chatter echoed through the halls. Here, Wilfred stopped at what I'd always thought was a solid wall. We were removing the old wallpaper and found this. He pressed against a panel, and with a soft click, a hidden door swung open. How did I never know about this? I whispered, stepping into a small room that smelled of aged paper and secrets. Sunlight filtered through a dusty window, illuminating floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. In the center stood a delicate writing desk, its surface covered in leather-bound journals. Mom's sanctuary, I breathed, running my fingers along the spines of the books. Rachel, Celeste's voice carried up the stairs. The playground people are here. Coming, sweetie, I called back. Wilfred, can you? I'll make sure no one touches anything, he promised. Take your time with this later. Downstairs, Celeste was bouncing with excitement as she showed the playground designers her drawings. And we need lots of swings, she insisted, because everyone should get to fly. The equipment needs to be accessible for all abilities, I added, watching as they sketched modifications to include ramps and special swings. A throat cleared behind us. Excuse me, Ms. Rachel? I turned to find Maria, our newly hired director of operations, holding a clipboard. The social services inspector is here early. She'd like to tour the facility. Now? I glanced around at the construction chaos. We're weeks away from being ready. It's just a preliminary visit, Maria assured me, to make sure we're on track with regulations. The inspector, a stern-looking woman named Patricia, surveyed the space with sharp eyes. You're undertaking quite a project here. We are, I agreed, leading her through the rooms. Each bedroom will house 2 children, with private bathrooms. The common areas promote interaction and healing. And supervision? 24-hour staff rotation, security systems, and counselors on site. We're partnering with the university's child psychology department. Patricia made notes as we walked. Your application mentioned music therapy? I pushed open the conservatory doors, where workers were installing new windows. This will be our music room. My mother taught here for years. We're continuing her legacy. Mom was the best teacher ever, Celeste chimed in, having followed us. She played piano like an angel. That's what Mommy says. Patricia's stern expression softened slightly. And you'll live on site? Yes, in the West Wing with my daughter. We want this to be a real home, not an institution. A crash from upstairs made us all jump. Sorry, Wilfred's voice called down. Just a ladder slip, all good. Patricia raised an eyebrow. Perhaps I should come back when construction is further along. Of course, but first, would you like to see the gardens? The landscapers just finished the meditation maze. As we walked outside, my phone buzzed. A text from Summer. Angelina's on the war path. She's been calling all your donors, trying to discourage them. I smiled, showing the message to Maria, who laughed. If only she knew the Harriman Foundation doubled their pledge after her calls. They said anyone who makes that much effort to stop something must be afraid of how much good it could do. The rest of the afternoon flew by in a blur of decisions. Paint colors, furniture deliveries, security system installations. By sunset, I finally made it back to the hidden room. Settling at the desk, I opened the first journal my fingers touched. A photograph fluttered out. My mother, young and radiant, standing in this very room. On the back she'd written, "My secret garden of truth, where lies wither and die." Mom, Celeste poked her head in. Wilfred says the pizza's here, and he found more secret stuff. More secrets? I tucked the photo away. What kind? He said it's grown-up stuff, but he's setting up the picnic blanket in the ballroom like we did last night. Standing, I took one last look around the hidden sanctuary. Whatever secrets these walls held could wait. Right now, pizza and my daughter's laughter called. Race you downstairs? I suggested. Celeste grinned. Last one there has to eat the yucky anchovy slice. As we thundered down the stairs, our laughter echoing through the halls, I realized something. This place was already becoming exactly what Mom had always wanted, a home filled with joy, purpose, and love. And somewhere, I hoped, she was watching and smiling. I'm just saying, darling, have you really thought this through? Dad's voice wavered with concern as he paced the newly finished conservatory. Running a children's home is a massive responsibility. That's why we have a professional staff, Dad. I adjusted a frame on the wall, a photo of Mom teaching piano to a group of kids. Why are you really here? He sighed, running a hand through his graying hair. Angelina's worried about you. She thinks, of course she does. I cut him off. And it has nothing to do with her losing access to what she thought would be her retirement mansion? Before he could respond, Maria burst in. Rachel, we have a problem. The health inspector's here again, and someone's filed multiple complaints. Let me guess. Anonymous complaints? Maria nodded. They're claiming unsafe conditions, improper permits, all of which we have documentation for, I said, pulling out my phone to text Wilfred. Can you show the inspector our files while I handle this? As Maria left, Dad shifted uncomfortably. Rachel, honey, maybe this is a sign. A sign of what, Dad? That your wife is desperately trying to stop this project? I pulled up Angelina's latest series of texts to our donors. Look at these. She's telling people we're running an illegal operation. He squinted at the screen, face falling as he read. She's just concerned. About losing her social standing? About the Thompson grandson's upcoming visit? I watched his expression change. Did she ever tell you about that? A knock at the door saved him from answering. Wilfred entered, tool belt slung over his shoulder. Inspector's gone. Maria showed him our paperwork, and he's actually impressed with our safety protocols. Thank God, I breathed. Any other fires to put out? Well, Wilfred scratched his head. Someone called the Historical Society claiming we're destroying protected architecture. But since we followed all preservation guidelines, Dad's phone chimed. He checked it, frowning. I should go. Angel needs me to pick her up from her weekly spa appointment, I finished. The one where she meets with Summer to plot their next move. He froze. How did you? Summer's been keeping me informed. She's not proud of helping Angelina sabotage Celeste's party. I walked to the window, watching workers install playground equipment. Did you know Angelina told Summer to loosen the decorations that day, to make sure the cake table was unstable? She wouldn't, Dad started, but his protest sounded weak. I have the texts, Dad, just like I have proof about what she did to Mrs. Thompson's will 15 years ago. I turned to face him. Before she met you, Angelina worked as Mrs. Thompson's home health aide. Funny how that wealthy widow changed her will right before she died, leaving everything to her dear friend Angelina instead of her family. The color drained from his face. That's not possible. The Thompson grandson has the original will, the one before Angelina started working there. He's bringing it next week. I softened my tone. Dad, I know you love her, but she's not who you think she is. A commotion outside drew our attention. Through the window, we watched Angelina's Mercedes screech into the driveway. She stormed toward the house, Summer trailing behind her looking distressed. Angel, please, Summer called out. This isn't the way. Rachel! Angelina's voice echoed through the halls. Where are you, you ungrateful little... She burst into the conservatory, stopping short at the sight of Dad. Victor, I didn't know you were here. Clearly, he said quietly, and something in his tone made her step back. I was just coming to reason with Rachel. She smoothed her hair, composing herself, about the ridiculous rumors she's spreading. You mean the truth? Summer spoke up from the doorway. I can't do this anymore, Angelina. I won't help you hurt them. Summer, darling, you're confused. Show him the texts, Summer told me. Show him everything. As I pulled out my phone again, a new message appeared from an unknown number. Donation received, $500,000, anonymous. What is it? Wilfred asked, noting my surprised expression. Someone just made an anonymous $500,000 donation. I looked up at Summer, who gave me the smallest of nods. That's my inheritance money, she whispered. From Aunt Margaret. I wanted to help fix what Angelina's tried to destroy. Angelina's face contorted with rage. You little traitor, after everything I've done for you. That's enough. Dad's voice cut through her tirade. Rachel, I think it's time I saw those texts. All of them. As I handed him my phone, watching his face darken with each message he read, I caught sight of Celeste in the garden, teaching another little girl how to use the new swing set. Their laughter floated up through the open window, the sound of healing already beginning, despite all attempts to stop it. And this is where we have our music therapy sessions, I told the news crew as we walked through the conservatory. 3 months after opening, Grace Haven was thriving, and the local media had come calling. Miss Rachel, 8-year-old Lucy came running in, her dark curls bouncing. Can I show them my piano piece, the one your mom taught you? Of course, sweetie. I watched as she settled at the piano, her small fingers finding the keys with growing confidence. The same lullaby Mom had taught me filled the room, bringing unexpected tears to my eyes. The reporter, Sarah, touched my arm. How many children are you housing currently? 12 full-time residents, and we provide day services for 30 more, Maria answered, appearing with her ever-present clipboard. We have a waiting list of... A crash from the entrance hall interrupted her. We rushed out to find Angelina standing amid the shattered remains of a donated vase, Summer trying to pull her away. You can't be here, I said firmly. You're not on the approved visitors list. It's my granddaughter's recital. Angelina slurred slightly. I have every right. Celeste isn't your granddaughter, I cut in. And there is no recital today. This is a media tour. The camera crew had followed us out, their equipment whirring as they captured the scene. Angelina's eyes widened as she noticed them. Oh, perfect. She straightened, switching to her society voice. I'm the founder's stepmother. I'd be happy to share some insights about this charitable endeavor. The founder's stepmother who was recently served with a restraining order? Sarah asked, consulting her notes. The one who attempted to sabotage the opening? Summer stepped forward. Angelina, please, don't make this worse. Dad's already... Don't mention your father to me, Angelina snapped. Ever since he saw those texts, he's been impossible, acting like I'm some sort of criminal. Mrs. Benson, one of the security guards approached. I need to escort you off the property. Don't touch me. I know things about this place. About Rachel's mother. About Mrs. Thompson. A new voice joined the fray. We turned to see an elderly man standing in the doorway, leaning on a cane. Because I'd love to hear your version of that story, Angelina. The color drained from her face. James Thompson, you're early. Thought I'd come see what my grandmother's money helped build, he said, looking around appreciatively. The children's home she always wanted but never got to create. Funny how that worked out, isn't it? Angelina backed away. I don't know what you're talking about. The police might, James said mildly. They're very interested in the evidence I found in grandmother's old files. Seems she kept quite detailed records of her original will, and of certain irregularities in her medication doses during your employment. The camera crew was capturing everything. Sarah's eyes gleamed with the scent of a bigger story than she'd expected. This is all a misunderstanding, Angelina stammered. I should go. Yes, you should. I nodded to the security guard who moved to escort her out. And don't come back. Ever. As they led her away, Summer lingered. Rachel, I'm so sorry. I tried to stop her when I saw her heading here. It's not your fault, I assured her. Your donation helped us help so many kids. That's what matters. From the conservatory, Lucy's piano playing continued, joined now by other children's voices singing along. The reporter turned to James Thompson. Mr. Thompson, would you like to comment on your grandmother's connection to Grace Haven? He smiled, watching the children through the doorway. My grandmother believed every child deserved a chance at happiness, especially those who'd lost their mothers. She would have loved this place. He turned to me. Your mother was her favorite student, you know. She always said Rachel had her spirit. A tugging at my sleeve drew my attention. Celeste stood there with Lucy and two other girls. Mom, can we show everyone the secret room? The one with all Grandma's books? Actually, I looked at the camera crew, then at James. That's perfect. Because that room holds more than just books. It holds the truth about a lot of things. Shall we? As we climbed the stairs, I heard Summer on the phone behind us. Dad, you need to come to Grace Haven. Now, there's something you need to see. The hidden door swung open to reveal Mom's sanctuary, now restored to its former glory. On the desk lay her journals, and beside them, a stack of papers James had brought, evidence of Angelina's past finally coming to light. Sometimes, I told the cameras, the best way to honor those we've lost is to create something they would have loved. This isn't just a home for children who've lost their mothers. It's a testament to the power of truth, justice, and love. Behind me, the children's laughter echoed through the halls, drowning out the last traces of Angelina's angry protests from outside. The morning of Grace Haven's official grand opening dawned bright and clear. Crowds gathered on the freshly manicured lawn, where rows of white chairs faced a podium beneath the old oak tree. News vans lined the driveway, their satellite dishes reaching toward the sky. Ready for this? Wilfred asked, adjusting my microphone. Biggest day of your life. Second biggest, I corrected, watching Celeste help Lucy straighten her dress. The biggest was becoming a mom. Dad appeared, looking older than his years. Rachel, can we talk before the ceremony? I followed him to a quiet corner of the garden. He pulled out a manila envelope. I found these in Angelina's personal safe. There are more documents about Mrs. Thompson and about your mother. Dad, please let me finish. The police have copies now. They arrested Angelina this morning. The words hung in the air between us. Before I could respond, Maria rushed over. Rachel, the DA's office is here. They want to make a statement after your speech. A statement about what? Summer approached, clutching her phone. I just got the most bizarre text from Angelina's lawyer. Ladies and gentlemen, the event coordinator's voice came through the speakers. Please take your seats. The ceremony will begin in 5 minutes. I looked at the gathered crowd, donors, community leaders, and most importantly, the children who now called Grace Haven home. They sat in the front row, squirming with excitement in their Sunday best. Whatever it is, it can wait, I decided. This day is for them. The ceremony began with Lucy playing the piano piece she'd mastered, her small fingers dancing across the keys we'd moved outside for the occasion. I stepped up to the podium as the last notes faded. Welcome to Grace Haven, I started, but a commotion at the back of the crowd made me pause. Angelina burst through the garden gate, her designer outfit replaced by wrinkled clothes, her hair disheveled. 2 police officers followed close behind. You can't do this, she shrieked. I won't let you destroy everything I've built. Ma'am, you're violating your bail conditions, one officer warned. Let her speak, I said, surprising everyone. Let's hear what she has to say. Angelina stormed down the aisle, past shocked guests. You think you're so clever, don't you? With your children's home and your mother's precious legacy? Well, guess what? Your mother wasn't the saint you think she was. That's enough. Dad stood up, but I waved him back. No, please continue, I said calmly. Tell everyone what you found in Mom's journals, about how she discovered you were stealing from Mrs. Thompson, about how she threatened to expose you. Angelina faltered. What? How did you? Mom kept her own records. I pulled out a weathered notebook, including the letter she wrote to Mrs. Thompson's lawyer the day before her accident. The accident you caused. Gasps rippled through the crowd. The news cameras whirred. You have no proof, Angelina hissed, but her face had gone pale. Actually, James Thompson stood up. We do. The brake lines on your stepdaughter's mother's car didn't fail naturally. The forensics report came back this morning. That's why the DA is here. 2 more police officers appeared at the garden gate. You ruined everything, Angelina screamed, lunging toward the podium. But before she could reach me, Summer stepped in her path. No, sister, you ruined everything yourself, with your greed, your lies, your cruelty. The police moved in, reading Angelina her rights as they led her away. Her final shriek echoed across the lawn. She deserved it. She was going to take everything from me. Silence fell over the crowd. I looked at the children's scared faces and knew I had to salvage this moment. This, I said into the microphone, is why Grace Haven exists. Because sometimes the people who should protect us don't. Sometimes the truth takes years to come to light. But love always finds a way. I gestured to the restored mansion behind me. My mother believed in creating safe spaces for children to heal, to grow, to become who they're meant to be. Today, we're not just opening a home. We're continuing her legacy of love. Celeste stood up, pulling Lucy with her. One by one, all the children rose, moving to stand beside me at the podium. Grace Haven isn't about revenge, I continued, putting my arms around as many kids as I could reach. It's about turning pain into purpose. It's about making sure no child feels alone in their darkest moments. Dad walked up, tears streaming down his face, and joined our group. Summer followed, then Wilfred, then James Thompson. Soon, the entire crowd was standing, applauding as the children beamed with pride. As the cheers washed over us, I felt Mom's presence stronger than ever. She'd known all along that the best revenge wasn't destruction, it was creation. And we'd created something beautiful. And that's how your grandmother saved Grace Haven before it even existed, I told the circle of children gathered in the secret room. Outside, autumn leaves danced past the window as Lucy played piano in the conservatory below. But what happened to the mean lady? Asked Tommy, our newest resident. Angelina's serving time for what she did to my mom, I explained, closing the journal in my lap. Sometimes justice takes its time, but it comes eventually. A knock at the door revealed Dad, carrying a dusty box. Found this in the attic. Thought you might want to see what's inside. The children crowded around as I lifted the lid. Photos spilled out. Mom teaching piano, hosting charity events, building the life that Angelina had tried to destroy. I miss her, Dad said softly, picking up a picture of Mom in the garden. I should have seen through Angelina sooner. Should have protected you and Celeste. You're here now, I squeezed his hand. That's what matters. Maria appeared in the doorway. Rachel, there's someone here to see you. Says she knew your mother. In the foyer stood an elegant elderly woman, her silver hair swept into a neat bun. I'm Margaret Wells, she said. I was your mother's best friend in college. My heart skipped. Mom had mentioned Margaret in her journals. They'd lost touch after Margaret moved abroad. I saw the news about Angelina, she continued, about what she did to Elizabeth, to your mother. I had to come. Did you know? I asked. About Angelina's past? Margaret nodded. I tried to warn Elizabeth. That's why I sent her the documents about Mrs. Thompson, but I was too late. The documents? Dad looked up sharply. You were Mom's anonymous source? Yes, I worked at the bank where Mrs. Thompson kept her safety deposit box. I saw Angelina force her to change her will. She pulled an envelope from her purse. There's more you should know about why your mother started teaching music to orphaned children in the first place. Inside the envelope was a faded photograph of two little girls at a piano. I recognized Mom, but the other, that's me, Margaret said softly. In the orphanage where we met. Your mother never forgot where she came from, Rachel. She was an orphan too. The revelation hit me like a physical force. All those journals, and she'd never mentioned. Elizabeth wanted to tell you, Margaret continued, but she was waiting for the right time. Then Angelina came into your lives, and she knew she had to protect you first. A burst of laughter from the garden drew us to the window. Celeste was pushing Lucy on the swing set, their joy infectious. She'd be so proud, Margaret smiled, not just of Grace Haven, but of how you transformed pain into purpose, just like she did. Will you tell us about her? I asked. About what she was like as a girl. I'd love to, but first there's something else. She reached into her purse again. Elizabeth gave me this letter, made me promise to deliver it if anything happened to her. I've carried it for years, waiting for the right moment. The envelope bore my name in Mom's handwriting. Inside was a single page. My dearest Rachel, if you're reading this, then Margaret has finally found you. There's so much I wanted to tell you about my childhood, about how music saved me, about why helping other motherless children became my life's mission. But know this. Everything I built, everything I dreamed, was to ensure you would never feel as alone as I once did. And somehow, I think you've taken that dream even further than I could have imagined. Remember, darling, our greatest strength lies not in what we overcome, but in how we help others overcome their own struggles. You've always had that strength within you. All my love, Mom. Rachel, Celeste called from the garden. Lucy wants to play the song, the one about healing. I wiped my eyes, tucking the letter close to my heart. Coming, sweetie. Would you like to hear them play? I asked Margaret. The children have composed their own piece. They call it Grace Notes, about finding family in unexpected places. As we walked to the conservatory, the setting sun painted the walls in warm gold. Children's artwork lined the hallways, their hopes and dreams displayed proudly. In the music room, Lucy and Celeste sat side by side at the piano, their fingers poised over the keys. They began to play, and the melody soared. Not a sad song about loss, but a triumphant one about discovery, about creating light from darkness, about the family we choose. And somewhere, I knew Mom was listening, her dream of healing hearts through music living on in every note.